Call the meeting of the Sweetwater County School District Number 1 Board of Trustees to order. If you would stand and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mrs. Bolton, we have some recognition.
Good evening, Chair Jellicoe, Superintendent McGovern, and members of the board. If you would like to join me down front, we do have some recognition tonight. This evening, the Board of Trustees and Superintendent Kelly McGovern would like to recognize the following individuals. The Wyoming Department of Education and the American Institute for Research selected 12 teacher leaders to serve as educator ambassadors for a new professional learning opportunity that began in May of 2021 and will continue through the end of the 21-22 school year. Rock Springs Junior High School instructors Darcy Punches and Peyton Spalding were both chosen to serve as educator ambassadors, and both very deserving. This learning opportunity will provide them with knowledge and strategies related to virtual learning. Serving as an educator ambassador provides an opportunity to grow in a professional learning network while also enhancing knowledge and skills in virtual teaching and learning. They will receive a $1,000 honorarium to serve as leaders in a Canvas online community and learning collaborations, monthly interactive meetings with teachers participating in the program, while also receiving support and professional development from AIR. We would like to recognize Darcy and Peyton. During the month of September, the East Side Crisis Team met several times to outline the school safety process as it relates to MAT training and school safety crisis situations. The team recently presented our school crisis process procedure to the staff. All members of this team continue to support students and staff with genuine care and professionalism. It is with pleasure that we honor the following members of our school crisis team at Eastside. Miss Emily Bailiff, Miss Carrie Burdette, sorry, Zach, I'm sorry, that was my foot this time. Miss Danny Eichinger. Miss Dina Fulmer. Miss Emily Gomez. Miss Courtney Hanson. Miss Tressa Klocka and Miss Ariane Neal. Miss Catherine Wabel. And Miss Crystal Wells.
Do you want us to sing our school song? We can do that. Thank you guys.
Next, we'd like to recognize Jordana Fredericks. Jordana is a conscientious student at Eastside Elementary School. She takes pride in her work and is a true student leader. Jordana is an artist and athlete. Her artwork is featured in a children's book written by an author who lives in our county. Along with being respectful, kind, and helpful to others and her peers, Jordana is a natural-born leader in the classroom and in her community. Her positive and easygoing attitude is contagious to those around her. There's a short video we'd like to show.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jordana Fredericks. I'm a sixth grader here at Eastside Elementary. I illustrated this book. It's called Hugo the Pup Finds a Home. I'm available for anyone or any classes that want me to read the book for them. And I also am available to talk to them about being an artist. Thank you.
Miss Jordana, that is so loud. I'm not even by it. Miss Jordana, do you want to come on up? Sorry, Zach.
Mr. Young, Mr. Young, even just you All right, guys, ready? 1, 2, 3. We're gonna do one more. 1, 2. Awesome.
And that concludes recognition for this evening.
Love you, Eagles. Go home and relax. Peace out. Score hockey. Love you. Love my Eagles. Love you. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, all of you, for your very positive contributions to the district. Moving on in our agenda, Mrs. West, if you would do roll call, please.
Mrs. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Jackman?
Here.
Mr. Batolo?
Here.
Mr. Mickelson?
Here.
Mrs. Summers?
Here.
Mr. Reedy? Chairman Jellicoe?
Here. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda. It's been moved by Mr. Mickelson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Thompson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. We also have an addendum tonight, so if there is a motion to approve the addendum. Moved by Mrs. Summers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jackman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Okay, item number 3 on our agenda is to suspend the board meeting and open the public hearing, so I would entertain a motion to do so.
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Jackman. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Mickelson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. We are now in a public hearing. Mr. Duncan.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Superintendent McGovern. There are 2 items to this budget hearing. The first one is the consideration to reallocate funds to the transportation salary schedule. And what's going on here is we're taking the budget money from 4 budgeted and unfilled positions on the special ed side and 1 budgeted and unfilled position in a regular classroom. And then we're using those funds to reallocate to the transportation department salary schedule. And the reason why it's a budget hearing is because we're crossing 1,000 level function codes, and by statute, we have to do that. And I believe there's about 75 people or so that are affected on that transportation salary schedule. And of course, we're doing this to be able to recruit and retain our bus drivers and our mechanics. Any questions on the first item?
Positions do we have vacant at this time in the transportation department?
I don't know. Can you help me out, Joe?
Last I checked, it was 9.
9?
And are those the route drivers or the over-the-road drivers?
Those are the route drivers.
Okay.
All with their over-the-road drivers, training one. I actually just had a resignation. So it's losing quite a few drivers. Able to pick up those positions.
Okay, so we have 9 vacancies out of a total, and so how many positions do we have?
53 26-hour part-time drivers.
Okay. Yes, please come up to the podium.
Was that, just Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent McGovern, sorry I didn't come up here to begin with, but my bad. So I was wrong. We don't have 9 open positions. We have 14 open positions.
14.
Yes, and then that's 26-hour positions, and then we have one 29-hour position that is vacant also.
Okay.
So, and like I said, there was a resignation just today of a 26-hour driver.
And how many full-time, or how many staff members do you have?
Full-time staff members,
Well, 20, it'd be the 26 hours.
everything,
Yeah,
75
everything.
positions.
75 total?
Yes.
So we are basically 15, we're about 15 positions short, so we should be at 90.
Well, I'm allocated 75, so we actually have about 60.
So you only have
or-
60. Okay, so
correct.
75 is what you're allocated. We have
Yes.
about 60.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Duncan,
So any other questions on the transportation item A?
any other questions, comments?
So on the,
Mr. Jackman?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, my apologies. Thank you. So our current salary schedule is 1684 for a class 1, and then we're looking to increase that item, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, to the $20 an hour base.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. And so that difference that you're seeing, that's the straight salary amount.
Mhm.
And so by the time you figure the salary and benefits, it's a little over 360,000 that we're reallocating funds for.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair.
Mrs. Thompson?
Okay, so I understand where we're getting the funds for the first year to pay for this, but where are we getting the funding each year after?
Yep, good question. Most of these salaries will be reimbursed by the WDE from their transportation reimbursement. So we've got to come up with the funds in the first year, and so then they'll reimburse us for those costs the following year.
So since we are starting this at a little bit later date, we'll only be reimbursed for the actual amount that we spend. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so Mr. Klingenpeel?
Sorry, there was
As
one
you're-
thing
as you're
I'd
running-
like
as
to add,
you're-
just to let you know what's going on as far as getting the positions. Advertising for positions is a reimbursable expense. We've done billboards for 2 weeks throughout the community. I'm sure you guys have probably seen some of them. We've done radio spots, 500 ads on the radio. We've had people go and talk to the radio, on the radio stations for live spots. We've had advertising in papers, and I believe all that stuff ended up being about $6,000. And I think it came up to 3 applications for 26-hour drivers and 1 for a 40-hour position. So I don't know what else to do as far as getting our drivers. It's a nationwide issue, as you
Yes,
guys
it
know.
is. Yes,
so
it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Please proceed.
Okay, thank you. The next item is to reallocate funds to the COVID-19 health and safety incentive. Add additional cost to the virtual school, the interventionists. I'm reallocating cost to the cleaning staff and also increasing the indirect cost. So basically what's going on here, the first piece is to reallocate money set aside for the custodial cleaning supplies up into the line item for the staff, contracted staff cleaning. And then the other function is we're basically taking all of the money that was previously budgeted for improvements in the buildings, the DDC controls and some of the HVA systems, and we're using that money to fund the health and safety incentive, to fund the virtual school for the remainder of this year, so the second semester plus all of next year. Previously, the budget money covered only one fiscal year. We're doing the same thing for the interventionist, funding the second semester of this year and also the full year next year. We're also moving money to fund the indirect costs to cover those, because the indirect costs are not offered when you have repairs to buildings. And so since we're moving them to salaries and benefits and supplies, then those would be eligible for indirect costs. So we need to increase that money too. And as far as the health and safety incentive goes, we'll go into a little bit later on in the board, but basically it's a $500 gross payment for about 1,140 people estimated. And that would cover the employees, the substitutes, and also the contracted staff, especially Elwood comes to mind, and there are some other contracted staff that we have. The total amount of that is a little over $615,000. And to be eligible for that, you need to be fully vaccinated or partake in the program for the bi-monthly testing.
Questions? You will notice that there are some changes. You received a new document from the one that was previously in the agenda regarding some changes to the particular plan. So just for your information, there are some changes to it. Any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Mrs. McGovern.
Thank you very much. Trustees and for members of the public, it's listed on the actual health and safety incentive, but which is later in the agenda, like Scott had mentioned. But I think it's important to also say here in the budget hearing that this incentive is provided through CARES ESSER 2 grant funds, and that we verified that it is an allowable expense through the state through the grant.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. There is no public comment regarding the public hearing, so I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing and reconvene the regular board meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Jackman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Batolo. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Superintendent reports. 7A, the Parent Involvement for Student Achievement Task Force and School and District Improvement Plans.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Jellicoe and trustees. This evening, I'm excited to share information about the targeted planning and projects that the Curriculum and Assessment Office has been busy with over the last month. Last year, when I joined Sweetwater One, I knew that I had become a part of an innovative district with a clear vision as described in the strategic plan. Over the last 12 months, this has proven to be all that I had thought. This is a district led by leaders who maintained a focus on safety of students while guaranteeing that teaching and learning remained in the forefront. Zach, will you pull up my PowerPoint? Thank you. All right, and go ahead and to the next slide. Thank you. In June, we asked you to support the idea of a new task force to look at student success. Our PISA task force, which stood for Parental Involvement for Student Achievement, was formed. The task force was made up of 15 parents and community members, 7 teachers, 6 administrators, 5 district staff, and 3 board members. This task force met 3 times. At our first meeting, we discussed the purpose of our committee, reviewed a folder full of data like this, and the team members broke into groups. They studied and examined the data that we provided, and then they formulated a list of questions, probably about 50 questions. Great questions were asked, such as, I'll give you a few examples. What are we doing to currently decrease the number of students in red and yellow in our Acadian scores? Has one-to-one technology improved our YTOP outcomes? Do drops or increases correlate with the change in curriculum? What is one school in particular doing differently to get results that they are getting? And are root causes being addressed? The questions that they came up with in a matter of an hour were very thoughtful and just so well thought put into it. So at our second meeting, Superintendent McGovern, Debbie Veras, and I had organized their questions into common themes, because those are great questions that we don't have the answers to all of those questions. The team members then worked together to propose suggestions, and they brainstormed ideas to address the themes and areas of each concern. Each team shared some of the ideas that they had then suggested. At our final PISA meeting, we shared research on what successful and high-performing districts and schools do. We examined what was believed to be the root cause to many of our concerns that came from the data, and proposed actions to support student success based on all that we know. The team then created and voted on actionable items to move forward with. The 3, as recommended from the PISA committee, and Zach, that's my next slide. Let's see, that was next one, sorry. They voted, you can see we used a tool where they could vote, and the graph down on the bottom, that was the percentages of where they wanted to go with this. We wanted some actionable items that we could move forward with. And so the top 3 actionable items that we're bringing to you are: they want to be able to find ways to build relationships with parents and community involvement. They want to make sure that we are targeting and defining priority standards and assuring that we teach all students what they need to know to mastery. And they want to embed purposefully planned relationship building in schools and classrooms. The conversations that they had were thought-provoking and just so motivating. The goals have created an opportunity for us to then have further support from our community. We would like these volunteers, we invited them to, we're going to break these 3 actionable items into project committees. That way they can help us make these actions come to life. On our website right now, on the very top of the home page, you'll find a link to be a part of our project committees, and we invite parents and staff to join one of our committees to help us move forward with our projects. Sorry, is everyone's phone going off? Oh dear, okay. Okay. So if you're interested in helping with one of these committees, please volunteer through the link on the website. The work of the project committees will be listed on our district improvement plan and shared with you as soon as we get these committees together and put the wheels in action. I, along with Superintendent McGovern and Curriculum Specialist Debbie Veras, would like to thank the members of our PISA committees for volunteering their time and sharing their ideas on student achievement for our district. We look forward to the continued partnership in our search for student success. All right, in our next slide. In September, we pulled our schools together we pulled our school leaders and their school improvement teams together for school improvement planning work. As you may recall, the state is not requiring the submission of school improvement plans for the 21-22 school year, while they're in the process of creating a new state format for all school improvement plans. Sweetwater One has been fortunate to be a part of the pilot group for this new school improvement plan template. I know you received all the copies of the school improvement plans in your board documents. To accomplish the project this year, we pulled all of our school teams together and shared the proposed plan template. Let's see, and Zach's like flipping through those for me. I know that you all have those in front of you. At first, it appeared rather difficult, the new template. It was a little overwhelming for our teams, but they quickly realized that all the pieces fit together. Teams began by giving a common self-assessment to their team and/or school staff. The assessment information was then used to have a collaborative discussion about the school's biggest areas of need. This became the identified priority practice as shown in section 2 of every plan. So that was after the common assessment when you look at those plans. Section 3 then asks for each school to make a plan of action that each school will take this coming school year. The goal must be a measurable goal of what the adults are going to do that year. Then there are action steps listed to make the goal happen, and state data is shown in each section, in each part of section 3 as well. Section 4 summarizes the entire plan. As you may have noticed, and you guys have been looking at these for many years, having the plans in the same format makes it clear to read and know what each school is going to do. It also helps us know what the steps that they're going to take to make things happen in their building. Leaders will be revisiting these plans multiple times this year to assure that progress is made. As you looked through those plans, and I know that that's a separate document and it's about 135 pages long, you may have noticed that our schools have set improvement goals such as, here's what we saw overall, establishing a systematic, data-driven intervention model, RTI, MTSS, focusing on strong instructional strategies, identification of priority standards, improving and strengthening PLCs and the work that is done within them, the incorporation of many of Hattie's high-impact strategies, and providing social emotional supports for our students. We look forward to the notable progress in these areas from our schools, and we're asking that you approve those school improvement plans this evening. Thank you for your support this fall, and I look forward to sharing updates with you this year. Are there any questions?
Any questions or comments? I know we had 3 trustees on the PISA task force. Would any of you like to comment? Mr. Patolo?
I was very encouraged with the process that we used to do this, the PISA, PISA committee. I also was encouraged that the ideas that came from the community matched very well with the ideas that
Yes.
are in the school improvement plans.
Yeah.
What I see in the school improvement plans is I see, let's figure out how to teach to best practices. I see, let's figure out a way to have relationships with our community and our parents.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of conversations about data. So I think it's really good that those two things were independent and came up with
That's
mostly
right.
the same solution. So thank you
Yes.
for that time.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Patolo.
Anyone else? Mrs. Summers, Mr. Mickelson? Mrs. Summers?
There we go. Sorry. I too was really encouraged by my involvement in the PISA task force and with what our community and our teachers and everybody brought together, all the ideas that went on the table. I was really impressed with, the ideas that were developed, and I'm really excited and looking forward to seeing where we go from here. And I'm really hoping to see those those advancements in student achievement that we all want to see.
Awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Summers.
Mr. Mickelson, any comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Communications and correspondence. If a member of the public initiates specific complaints or charges against an employee in order to protect the employee's rights to privacy and due process, the board will only hear those complaints or charges in closed session. The board encourages concerned individuals to file complaints using the appropriate district complaint procedure and appropriate forms, which can be obtained from the district's website. As per policies B, DDH, and KD, please limit your comments to the board to one time. If your comments have been previously submitted in writing, please refrain from addressing the board a second time. Policies B, DDH, and KD continue to state, questions asked by the public shall, when possible, be answered immediately by the chairman or referred to staff members present for reply. Questions requiring investigation shall be referred to the board or administrative staff for consideration and later response. Before I read the ones submitted, I believe I neglected to ask if there was any public comment regarding the public hearing. Is there any public comment regarding the public hearing? Seeing none, then we will proceed with the public comment submitted online. Brett Stuckey, CAB Administration. Okay, this district prides itself on always doing what is best for kids. I do not believe having 8 different teachers a day is what is best for kids. I am referring to the substitute teacher situation going on right now. At the elementary level, if a sub cannot be found for a classroom, the other teachers in the school give up their planning to teach that class. Sometimes a specialist teacher is pulled, which means classes for that special will be canceled for the day, and those teachers will lose that planning time. Sometimes an ELL or SPED teacher is pulled to teach the class for which a substitute cannot be found, which means services for students attending those classes will be canceled. I am a retired teacher who would very much like to help out with substitute teaching. I have had my paperwork turned in to become a sub since August 24th. It is now October 6th, and I am still not in the system for substitute teaching. I have had 6 different teachers make requests for me to sub for their classes, but have been able to do so. Kudos to Samantha Gardner and Kirsten Hamilton, who are diligently striving to get the new software system running smoothly. On an almost daily basis, the district is short substitute teachers. Recently, the high school was short 20 subs one day. The district needs subs, and the subs are out there. This system needs to be fixed quickly. George C., a community member. Questions for the school board. 1, is the school board planning to implement a COVID-19 vaccine mandate? Yes or no? Please elaborate. 2, is agenda item 14A intended to help create a list of unvaccinated employees in the district? Yes or no? In response to the first one, we are not implementing a vaccine mandate. It is a completely voluntary program, and there are alternatives to the vaccine. Item number 2, we are not creating a list of unvaccinated people. End of comment. Let's see, this is a second submission. Natalie Powell, a parent. I am both a parent. Is that not the same person?
It's the same person for the second comment.
But we only allow one per one time.
Right, but I think this one is important to know. It's up to you.
Okay, Mr. Stuckey has sent an update. Let's put it that way. I had previously written a comment about the substitute teaching situation. On Thursday afternoon, October 7th, I received an email stating that the situation has been resolved. Okay, going back to Natalie Powell, who is a parent. I am both a parent and a teacher in the district. I am deeply concerned about the district holding in-person parent-teacher conferences next week. I am also concerned about continued plans for reunification drills held around town. Our county is at a critical stage with COVID-19. Unless we take steps to limit large gatherings in close quarters, we will be culpable as the virus continues to spread. Regardless if conferences are held in individual classrooms or in gyms, they are busy nights in each building with hundreds of parents, students, siblings, and grandparents packed together. Our district has already lost parents and grandparents of students this school year to COVID-19. How many deaths is too many before we face up to the grim realities of what our community is going through? We cannot continue to look the other way. It was recently reported that 38 Sweetwater County residents have died from COVID-19 related deaths since September. These are people's family members, friends, and loved ones. If our community had 38 homicides or suicides in a 1-month span, I feel we would be banding together doing everything we could to find a solution. We have the technology to hold virtual conferences, and they worked well last year. I would respectfully ask that we hold a virtual parent-teacher conferences again this year. I keep hearing that reunification drills are optional for parents, that they don't have to go pick up their child. It is my understanding that that is exactly why we hold reunification drills, so that parents and guardians practice reunifying with their student. I understand the concept and importance of reunification drills, but this is not the year to be holding them. I would ask that we as a district step up and be very cautious about what school events we are asking parents, siblings, grandparents, and guardians to attend. Thank you for your time and consideration. Okay, how many people would like to address the board tonight? Okay, so please. Okay,
I'm here, why not?
Good evening, Chairman Jellicoe. Is that better, Zach? I know what you mean, Nicole. And Superintendent McGovern, Board of Trustees, and Mrs. West. I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Trona Valley Federal Credit Union. I'm not sure where all they traveled, but I am assuming they went to most or all schools if they could make it in one day. But at Eastside, we received a humongous basket of varied treats, lip balm, vitamin C, cookies, crackers, you name it. And every single item had a cute note on it. And there were 4 beautiful ladies that came from Trona Valley Federal Credit Union for no reason at all. And they just wanted to say how much they appreciate all of the educators in Sweetwater 1. And I'll tell you what, we put that basket in the lounge and it came back an hour later and there wasn't anything left. And they loved it. So just a huge shout out to our community and Trona Valley Federal Credit Union for loving our educators. Just wanted to let you know that.
thank you. Thank you. And thank you to Trona Valley.
Hello, Marty Albert, first grade at Sage, and as usual, only speak for myself. Today I calculated how much time I've had with my kids. Today was day 30 of school, also the 4th day that I have had my entire class in attendance, which means I have had my entire class in attendance for just under 13% of the time. It's hard to teach if they're not there. Anyway, just want you to know that. And then I wanted to give a shout out to our Title I and interventionist teachers. I told them I was going to name them. They begged me not to, but I'm doing it anyway. Tammy Pinter, Tanya Swinson, Emily Petilla is doing a long-term sub for maternity leave, and Annie Walker. And then Stacy Powell is our interventionist. Sage has not had Title I for a long time. And these ladies are amazing. They work with our most vulnerable students. They're so upbeat and so positive. The kids love going to their groups because they just feel really good about what they're doing there. And then when we have all those unfilled sub positions, on a dime, they turn and they take those classes. And as a teacher who has spent a couple of years giving up a lot of planning periods, to not be asked to do that even once this year, I just appreciate our title staff for the many, many roles they're playing this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment?
Okay, I'll try not to get too close to it. For those of you who don't know me, I am Lisa Coleman. I recently retired from the school district after 39 years of teaching music in school district number 1. And I wanted to just inform the board that it's not the fact that the teachers don't, the retirees particularly, don't want to help. It's the fact that we've been put on the hold for 9 weeks. Like Mr. Stuckey said, it's been very difficult. Most of us have had our paperwork in since before school started. And it's been very helpful to have Sam and the other secretaries be just as frustrated as we are, but it's frontline probably needs to be looked at again. I think that we need to take another look at how effective it is and the fact that we were stuck in payroll since week 2. And at week 7, I finally went in. I was so frustrated. And she says, well, you got to go talk to the 2 people at payroll that are doing this. And Kirsten was out sick and Nancy was on vacation. And I said, well, that might be part of the problem. But we still need to discuss the fact that it took until week 8 on Thursday, yet last week, before I also got my magic email that set up the parameters. And so for a whole quarter, we've been so short of subs. It's not been what's best for kids. And I really feel like you might want to take a look at Frontline and see if possibly doing something different because it was not working. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment? Further public comment?
Nate Woolman, board. I'd like to reiterate all this that this lady just explained. My wife also has had her paperwork in for since the beginning of the school year as well, and have not heard anything about it.
So she has not received the email yet?
No, she has not.
Okay, thank you. Further public comment? Further public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 9 on our agenda, the treasurer's report. Mr. Jackman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The general fund treasurer's report for the month of September 2021. We began with $9,493,457.46. We finished with $8,447,597.30. For the school lunch program, we began with $1,018,180. We finished with $991,977. And Head Start began with $120,204.85 and finished with $238,307.40. That concludes the main treasurer's report.
Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mickelson. Is there a second? Second by Mrs. Summers. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 10, the warrants. Mr. Jackman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Warrants from September 9th, 2021 to October 6th, 2021. Check numbers 146423 through 147015, totaling $5,112,810.83 with associated bank transfers.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Thompson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jackman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 11, the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are matters about which the board has governing policies, implementation of which is delegated to the superintendent. They will be enacted in one motion in the order listed below. There will be no discussion of these items prior to the time the Board of Trustees votes on the motion unless members of the board request specific items to be held and discussed separately and/or removed from this section. Minutes. 11A, approval of the minutes from the September 13th, 2021 regular meeting. 11B, approval of the minutes from the September 13th, 2021 executive session. 11C, approval of the resolution to amend the 2021-2022 budget for the proposed transportation salary schedule and the one-time COVID-19 health and safety incentive. Curriculum. 11D, approval to declare old or obsolete science, math, English language arts, and social studies curriculum materials as surplus property. 11E, approval for the Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment Office to proceed with purchasing bid items that are in the best interest of the district. 11F, approval of the school improvement plans. Technology. 11G, approval to renew securely.
Hold, please.
Facilities. 11H, approval of the bid for the re-roofing of Desert School, Wamsutter. Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the deletion or with the exception of 11G?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Jackman. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Mickelson. Any discussion, or excuse me, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item 11G, technology, approval to renew securely. Is there a motion? It's been moved by Mrs. Thompson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mickelson. Discussion.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Mickelson.
I just wanted to ask, since I know it's a part of our system for ensuring that our computers and other devices are used appropriately, how we're monitoring use outside of school hours and what that looks like in terms of if a kid misuses it, what are the consequences?
So the nice thing about Securely is it doesn't give kids the opportunity so much to misuse it. We require that they use the district provided devices to do their schoolwork. We provide content filtering on that. So for example, a student who might be doing naughty things on a personal computer at night because they have their own personal computer wouldn't get caught, while another student would because they're using a district computer. That would not be the case. All of the devices that we give out are used through Securely. They can't access it to get in trouble in the first place. One thing I will say that has been really, really handy with Securely is we get notifications for kids who might be struggling, like suicide or different things like that. And you could ask any administrator. We get emails every morning and we send that on to make sure that a counselor or somebody checks in with the students. So it's equal across the board for all of our students. Does that answer it? Okay.
Further discussion? Okay, the motion is to approve to renew Securely. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Let's go to the addendum. Item number 1, nutrition services. Recommendation to authorize the district's Department of Nutrition Services to purchase a la carte beverages for the National School Lunch Program. Recommendation to award the a la carte beverage bid to Western Wyoming Beverages due to scoring, as well as Coca-Cola Coca-Cola Bottling Company, High Country, submitting an incomplete proposal. 1B, recommendation to authorize the BIDS Department of Nutrition Services to purchase cafeteria tables and miscellaneous hardware. Recommendation to award the purchase of cafeteria tables to School Specialty LLC with the understanding that their quote is double the quantities requested in the bid document. Recommendation to award the miscellaneous kitchen hardware to Resco in the total amount of $162,956. Item number 2, personnel. Lindsay James, a science teacher at Rock Springs High School, is requesting a leave of absence for the remainder of the 21-22 school year. Finance, 3A, approval of the purchase and bid for the financing of 2 buses. Recommend low bidder Wyoming Bank and Trust, Cheyenne, Wyoming, be awarded the bid at a net effective interest rate, including additional costs of 1.40%. Delivery of the buses is anticipated to be mid-March 2022. 3B, approval of the resolution authorizing the district to lease 2 buses with an option to purchase 2 buses from Wyoming Bank and Trust, Cheyenne, Wyoming. Okay, it looks like that's it. Okay, is there a motion to approve the addendum? It's been moved by Mr. Mickelson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jackman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 12, Human Resources, approval of the proposed transportation salary schedule. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mrs. Thompson. Is there a second? I'm sorry? Second by Mr. Mickelson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 13 is a COVID-19 update. Mrs. McGovern?
Thank you, Chair Jellicoe. Just very quickly, trustees, and for our community, our COVID positive numbers are decreasing. As we look past through the last several weeks, our numbers are as follows: 42, 36, 66, 45, 26, 23, and then our most current one over the weekend was 22. So our COVID numbers are decreasing. And actually in our last parent square, we are tracking our stay-at-home orders. They are similar to a quarantine, but they are actually concrete information that our nurses have. So it could be a stay-at-home order that our nurses have issued for a student or a staff member that displays symptoms, or it could be information that they have received from our local or our state health department, or information that is provided from our parents. But it's concrete information based on the information that they receive. In our September board meeting, I presented on some estimated quarantine numbers, and those estimates were as follows: 132, 104, 160, 80, 84, and most recently with our stay-at-home, they were down to 64. So we're seeing a decrease in those numbers as well.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Mr. Jackman?
Superintendent McGovern, could our decrease in numbers be a cause of other issues, like not as many people getting tested, Do we have any of the data to kind of compare it to?
Thank you for the question. Mr. Jackman and fellow trustees, it could be, but we don't know for sure. We're only going off of the information that we receive, that we know, and we're openly reporting that out. So if there's other things that are going on that we don't know, it would be very difficult for us to speculate for that. But we are being very transparent on the information that we have.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Thank you for that update. I think that's something that's on all of our minds regularly. Let's put it that way. So, item number 14, the health and safety incentive. Approval of a one-time COVID-19 health and safety incentive. Are we speaking to that, or have we already done it? Is there anything further? Anything further? Okay.
Sure, Madam Chair. Just very quickly on here, trustees, as we mentioned before, this is funded through grant funds. It is solely voluntary, and it provides an opportunity for those that have been vaccinated before or are interested in getting vaccinated, an opportunity to do so. It also, in the description in here, it provides an opportunity for those that have an exemption that are still able to earn the $500 incentive. And that would be through a series of testing that they would need to go through 2 times a month. The testing responsibility is upon the employee to provide that documentation to our HR office. And then also for those that have been vaccinated, it would be proof of the CDC vaccination card for COVID-19. And pending the pleasure of this board upon approval, if it is, then tomorrow we will set that up online and have that be submitted electronically so that there is a date and a time stamp for those. As you can see through here, the way that this was written, that the vaccines need to be submitted by Friday, January 2022, January 14th at 4 p.m. And by doing that online, we'll be able to have that date and time stamp for those. For those that voluntarily would like to do the testing route, we've also provided a website where they can go on to the CDC and take a look at different types of tests that would be acceptable to use. And then this would come through in a separate payroll on January 27th of 2022. And I think one thing that is really important about this incentive, that it's an opportunity for not only part-time staff, full-time staff, but it also talks about substitutes that are in full-time positions within the district, and also substitutes, as long as they have done 4 days within the district, they are also eligible for this. So really the vision for this incentive and the purpose is it is one of the best things that we can do to keep our kids safe and keep our schools open, keep them going for in-person instruction. We've talked a lot tonight about school improvement plans. We know we want to get our student achievement scores up, but we also have relationship loss, not only learning loss. And so we need kids to be with their teachers and be in person as much as we can. And we believe this would be a great use of grant funds and allow an opportunity to make that happen in the best way that we can. So I welcome any questions on this from our board.
Questions? Mrs. Summers.
My question is, how did you come to for the testing procedure, if you want to go that route instead of the vaccination, how did you come to the 2-week testing every 2 weeks? Is that enough to ensure that, they are not, I guess, infectious?
Yeah, Madam Chair,
Mrs.
trustees. Mrs. Summers, thank you for the excellent question. That was really at the discretion of the district when this was written. You could actually put that in there. If we wanted the testing to be weekly, we would be able to do that. Our sole purpose for putting twice a month, so once every 2 weeks, was really due to the timeline of what testing results are taking here in the community. So that if we had a person that chose to go up to the hospital or public health, we know that the turnaround time, just due to the sheer volume and also to staffing limitations, that we didn't want one of our eligible people to not be able to fulfill this due to the turnaround time from testing results. That really was the sole purpose for that. It could have been listed once a month, it could have been weekly, but that was the idea behind it.
Further questions?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Patolo?
I'm struggling a little bit with this because of the fact that it's $615,000. I'm also cognizant of the fact that 1 month-long stay in the intensive care could cost maybe even more than that. This money that we're proposing to use for this is money that comes from the CARES Act, I'm assuming, Superintendent McGovern?
Yes, Chair Jellicoe,
Yes,
Mr. Patolo, yes.
Okay, and that money we can, I guess the question, the tipping point for me is, do we have enough money to supplement, to provide for all of the other things that we think we need? I don't want to act like this is leftover money and we have to get rid of it, but do we feel pretty confident that we have everything else we possibly could need covered?
Chair Jellicoe, Mr. Patolo, thank you for the question. One of the things when we were trying to figure out what would be the right amount of money for the incentive for people, we really went through and analyzed what if we paid 200, 300, 400, 500. And in one of the documents, as Mr. Duncan was going over for the budget hearing, it was really important for us to be able to sustain the other items in ESSER 2 that we had actually had part of our spending plan. And really that included the virtual school that is coming out of ESSER 2. And it was important for us to be able to not only finish the school year for this year, but to be able to use that money for next year as well. Without those funds, we wouldn't be able to have the Sweetwater One virtual school. So it was important for us to be able to continue that, even if we offered the 500. The other part was part of the ESSER 2 money that we used was for intervention positions. We were able to honor all of our schools for an extra position. What has given us some of the flexibility for it, unfortunately, is we, as you know, Sweetwater One, we have a difficulty recruiting and retaining staff. I mean, we saw it tonight with bus drivers, we have it with custodians, we have it with teachers. We just don't want to lose anybody. But it is within that flexibility that has opened up these funds for the remainder of this year. So I appreciate your question. I think it's very important for our community to know that these aren't leftover funds that we're just trying to, expend out there. Not by any means. They're very purposeful to use for health and safety to keep the doors open, but also keep the other things sustainable, not only this year, but next year.
And to follow that question up, one of the questions that we got asked earlier in the comments was, do we have a list of teachers? We obviously don't have that, so we can't place any kind of a perspective of, well, this many teachers have been, or staff members, I should say, I apologize for that, have received the immunizations, and this many haven't. So there isn't any way to say how much it is per person that actually gets the immunizations or participates in the program. So I guess I just wanted to say that out loud and wondered if anyone else had any concerns about any of these things. So thank you.
in conversations with Superintendent McGovern, I want to say that we felt like, we wanted to, we would like to have our staff vaccinated. We think that that's the safest for students and staff alike, but we're not comfortable with any kind of a mandate. So this was a way to incentivize the behavior in a positive way, so that we can keep our doors open. And so that was the rationale behind the incentive. I also want to, hearing the concerns about the substitute teaching and the people that are just now being approved in the system, that 4 days that they substitute would have to be completed before January 14th. Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm.
So it gives them time to get those 4 days in and still be eligible for the incentive as well.
That's correct.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. Further comments or questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve the one-time COVID-19 health and safety incentive? It's been moved by Mrs. Summers. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Mickelson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 15, the board self-evaluation. This month we have transportation, facilities, transportation, and food service. Would anyone like to start it off?
Do you want to read the categories?
Yes, thank you for the reminder. Okay, item number 1, the board directs the superintendent to oversee the preparation of a master plan for district facilities for the approval of the board and updates the board frequently about all plans and specifications related to the modification and/or construction of schools or district facilities. Number 2, the board adopts policies governing the use of public buildings, grounds, properties, and equipment. 3, the board prioritizes construction and/or building renovation needs of the district after review of short and long-range enrollment projects and facility needs reports. 4, the board adopts policies to provide for student transportation needs. 5, the board adopts policies to provide a comprehensive food service program. Those are the 5 categories. Anyone like to start?
Madam Chair, I will.
Mrs. Summers.
When I evaluated this, I thought this was like an either you did or you didn't. It's pretty black and white. So I put 4s for everything because I believe we do all of these things. We have policies that govern all these areas. And I don't know how you improve on a black or white kind of situation. So that was my reasoning behind the evaluation.
So your score would be?
4.
4. Thank you. Anyone else?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Mickelson?
Sorry. I think I'm on. I don't remember which one we were talking about. Oh no, it was at the PISA meeting. And one of the requirements was all, right? And so the 4, I think, is very difficult to achieve because it does sort of require that all. And I had the same exact thoughts that you did. I was like, oh, cool. We do all of this. And it's not a very high bar for the board, but I will take the win for 4.
Mrs. Thompson.
I would concur with both fellow trustees. I felt that since all of this is policy-driven and we're a very policy-driven board, that we are doing everything under these, and so I gave us a solid 4.
Mr. Jackman?
Madam Chair, I give us about a 3.5. I think one item we didn't fully anticipate was when we adjusted the school changing and the school chimes. I don't know if we fully investigated how that looked for our transportation department, especially in the mornings.
So you had a 3.5?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Batolo?
Yeah, I agree with the 4.0. I think these are yes or no questions also. Thank you.
Okay, and I would agree. I think this is an area that, as Trustee Thompson said, driven by policy, and it's pretty much black and white. So I would agree with the 4. We have discussed, and I talking about the input from the district leadership team starting in January. I wanted to have a little bit of a discussion regarding the what we want that input to look like. Has anybody given that any thought? I guess I'll throw something out there. I guess my thought was to have the, again, starting with instruction and starting in January, have the administrative leadership team go through the same bar that we go through and have whoever it's submitted to calculate kind of the score, if you will. But any of the comments that are given, have the comments relayed to us in terms of, you know, anonymously, of course, but at the same time, so that we have ways that our administrative team would perceive that maybe we could improve. And so that was a thought that I had. I'm open to other suggestions, but I'm just, and maybe we could have that done earlier in the month so that we'd have that information when we do the instructional part for January. I'm trying to give Superintendent McGovern some feedback as to how that process might work. Does anyone have any other suggestions or comments?
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Summers.
I like your idea. I'd almost, if there's a way that we could do it where the leadership team, you know, some sort of software tabulates it, you know, Google Forms or something to that effect, where they could put in comments. And that way, you know, it could be completely anonymous. They could it could just be tabulated with comments. I think that might bring about a more, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but I think we might get a more accurate picture if it can be completely anonymous. And certainly if people wanted to attach their names to a comment, that'd be great too. But
so maybe through a Google Docs or something
Yeah,
like that,
like Google
document,
Forms.
something like that. I don't want to have someone with an awful lot more work, you know, to make it as easy as possible and still get the input that we're seeking.
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Mr. Jackman.
Yeah, my thoughts are, I don't want it to be even considered mandatory. I don't care. We all score things differently.
Mhm.
I think we get a good gauge, but if somebody says, you really suck at this is how to be better, I want to know that that's their thought. And I want that to be an anonymous comment so that I'm not worried about any feedback coming our way, but I don't want anybody to feel like it's mandatory or required because as we've seen, people are already exhausted and we're in October.
Correct. I want it to be as simple as possible, but yet give us the feedback that we're looking for. Any further questions? Does that give you some, okay, thank you. Okay, good of the order. Item number 16, anyone? Mr. Batolo?
I just had a contact with a community member that asked about some signs that are directing traffic through the areas of James Addition, James Drive specifically, that help kind of organize the way that parents pick up students. The person I talked to kind of asked the question in a negative sense. You know, you don't own James Drive, you can't do that. I know we don't own James Drive, but as I drove by there one day, I thought, wow, that was a really good idea to do that. I wonder how they did that, how that happened. Can we talk about that so the community knows what the process was to have that happen?
So are you asking the principal?
Yeah,
of us? He's here, I know he's here.
If that's okay, yes. Yes.
Mr. Supis? Superintendent McGovern?
Sure.
You need some clarification?
Yeah, Chair Jellicoe, Mr. Batolo. So what Could you share with us a little bit what signs? Is it when you come out of the loop from the school where you, when you come out of the loop from in front of the school where you have to only turn right, or what?
Actually, I didn't know there was more than one. The one I'm talking about is when you come off the belt route and it says student pickup, and there's just a couple signs there, a stop sign that is more or less temporary. And that was the question. I guess what I wanted to do was give us an opportunity to say, here are the people we talked to about that, and here's why we're doing it, because I don't know if that information is out there.
Sure. Glenn, are you comfortable?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Chair Jellicoe, wow. Thank you, Zach, for all that you do. I don't think we thank you enough for all the hard work you put into doing this. But Chair Jellicoe, members of the board, Superintendent McGovern, I'd be happy to kind of go through the thought process and the collaborative efforts that went in place to try to figure out our traffic flow at the high school. So we know that traffic is increased at the high school due to many different circumstances, whether it be transportation or just availability for our parents to be able to drop students off. And we found that there were several bottlenecks. And after several discussions with HR, Ms. Moulton, Mrs. McGovern, along with collaborating with Rock Springs Police Department and Mr. Macy, our safety person through the district, we sat down and put our heads together and figured out traffic flow. And what came out of it was the establishing of some signage coming off of the belt loop that really we took a 2-lane street, James Street, and we modified that to 3 lanes. So that way we would allow for those that are coming straight through James, going from the east to the west, could continue driving on James. But if they were dropping off their students, we're asking that they take a right and go down Cottonwood and then drop off the students at the corner of the school from James and Cottonwood, right where the parking lot is for food service. And then we also allowed for traffic to continue to flow through, going from west to east along James as well. We thought that was the best way we were able to control that traffic, give a little bit of guidance, provide a safe drop-off. By having parents take that ride on the first part of Cottonwood and then looping around, we actually can maintain some sort of safety for our drop-off, because there are a lot of times when parents would just drop off their students anywhere along James Street. So it was a concern to have a safe drop-off area, and we could control the traffic on Cottonwood to be able to provide that safe drop-off location. The other reason why we had the traffic issues was due to Dan and facilities, the additional funding. We were able to open up the front of Rock Springs High School, and actually now we have 3 lanes. And that allowed for us to bring all of our buses in. It allows for our safe drop-off of our special education students. And it worked out, but what it did was it stopped the ability for parents to drop off in front of the school from around 7:40 to 8 o'clock. So that way we can maintain, because now that we have 3 lanes for buses, we don't need kids darting in between 3 lanes of buses trying to get into the school. Because of the new tardy policy, no one wants to be late to school. So they run to get to school on time. Thank you for laughing. But in the scheme of things, this was a very collaborative effort. This was not something that was just done because we wanted to put up signage. This was actually done trying to keep the best interests of traffic. We know James is very congested due to East Side dropping off on James. There was just a lot of work that went into it. So it took us a while to get it figured out. I appreciate the parent and the community asking those questions, and also being somewhat flexible and allowing us to figure out a good traffic flow that would provide for the multiple needs at Rock Springs High School. So hopefully that answered your question, sir. I appreciate it. And I would entertain any other questions in regards to the traffic flow.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Supas. Any other good of the order? I would just like to remind, I did forward an email regarding the Wyoming School Boards Association Annual Conference coming up November 17th through the 19th. And as a reminder, if you are interested in attending, please contact Tonette so she can make reservations for rooms as well as register for the conference. Other good of the order. Okay, item number 17, new business. 17A is a vacancy notice as of October 5th, 2021. 17B, calendar for the months of October, November, and December 2021, and January 2022. 17C, September 2021 Head Start Governing Board and Policy Council Monthly Report. 17D, Board Information, Career and Technical Education Annual Public Notification of Non-Discrimination. Item number 18, I would entertain a motion for an executive session for the discussion of legal and personnel matters. It's been moved. Is there a second? Second by Mrs. Summers. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Again, the executive session is for the discussion of legal and personnel matters. We do not anticipate any action upon our return. I entertain a motion to return from executive session.
So moved.
It's been moved by Mrs. Thompson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jackman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are now back in regular session. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mrs. Thompson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jackman, excuse me. I'm sorry. Mr. Jackman, okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion passes. We are adjourned.